One Piece Season 3 has officially been announced. It is coming in 2027, and today, we are going to talk about what we will definitely see in the third season, and also the small things I am a little worried about. And do not get me wrong when I say that, because I am absolutely sure the third season is going to be amazing, but there are some things they removed in the second season. Even if they seem like small details, they are actually really important details. So, we are going to talk about whether they might remove those things again, what my concerns are, and which details we are definitely going to see. But before we get into all of that, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's get started. To be completely honest, Netflix gave me a huge amount of confidence on this with the second season. After the first season, I still had a few question marks in my mind. I was especially wondering, are they really going to be able to capture the spirit of the Straw Hat crew? Because in One Piece, the crew is not just a group of characters. They have to feel like a family. Their jokes, their arguments, their sacrifices, and those little moments between them matter so much. And that is exactly why the second season gave me that feeling in a much stronger way. One of my favorite things in the second season was how natural the moments felt when the crew was together. There was a real closeness between them. They did not feel forced, fake, or like characters who were only together because the script needed them to be. They really felt like a team traveling together, getting to know each other, and growing used to one another. That is why my expectations for the third season went way up. I am not asking, can they do it, anymore. Now I am thinking more. How far can they take this? The thing I want most in the third season is for them to absolutely preserve that crew dynamic they built in the second season. In fact, just preserving it is not enough. They need to deepen it even more, because now the characters know each other better, they are more comfortable around each other, and they are much more connected. And that means in the third season, we need to see more of those small details within the crew itself. I want more everyday interaction, more joking around, and more natural moments. Especially when it comes to the Zoro and Sanji dynamic, I want them to be a little bolder. Yes, that energy was there between them in the second season, but I think they held back a little. In the third season, I want them to throw more insults at each other. I want Sanji to call Zoro Marimo more often, to make fun of him more, and I want Zoro to answer him the same way, because that dynamic is not just comic relief. It is also a very important detail that shows how connected the crew really is. Zoro and Sanji constantly going at each other is one of the most fun parts of the crew in the world of One Piece. But at the same time, we also know there is a very strong bond underneath all of that. They annoy each other, they talk like they look down on each other, but when things get serious, they trust one another. I want the show to build that balance a little more strongly. So not just the verbal fighting, but also the sense of brotherhood underneath it. I think that could be one of the most important things that strengthens the crew spirit in the third season. Another expectation I have is on Nami's side. I liked Nami in the second season, but in the third season, I want to see her money-loving side a little more clearly. Because what makes Nami who she is not just that she is smart or strong. It is also the way she changes when she sees money, the way she can smell an opportunity, and the way she can act selfish in a very cute way sometimes. These details might seem small, but they are exactly the things that make a character unforgettable. In general, I want the third season to focus more on the smaller but more distinctive character traits, because the big story is already strong enough to carry itself. In an arc like Alabasta, you already have action, drama, politics, betrayal, and war. But if you do not place those special character touches into that story, then what you end up with is just a good adaptation. And I do not want just a good adaptation. I want a season that truly carries the real spirit of One Piece. One of the things that left me feeling a little bittersweet in the second season was how quickly things moved after Chopper joined the crew. We loved Chopper, and we loved his introduction too, but I would have liked to see a little more time spent on the process of him getting used to the crew. Because for a character like Chopper, that transition is very important. Learning to trust new people, watching them from a distance, being a little shy, sometimes scared, sometimes happy. All of those could have been really valuable moments. Honestly, I found it a little too fast how quickly Chopper adapted to the crew. By the end of the episode, it almost felt like everything had already fallen into place. But I wanted to see, the way we felt it in the anime, that he was first watching them from a distance, trying to understand whether these people were really trustworthy, and sometimes feeling like an outsider. Maybe not for too long, but at least a few more scenes that could give us that feeling definitely would have helped. And that is exactly the kind of detail I want more of in the third season. Because one of the strongest parts of One Piece is the way the crew bonds with each other. I do not just want that bond to be stated through dialogue. I want it to be felt through the scenes. One person watching the others from a distance. One person quietly feeling happy while someone else is laughing. One crew member noticing when another is going through a hard moment. These are small scenes, but their impact is huge. And in the third season, I want to see exactly more of those small emotional details. When it comes to Robin, my expectation is very clear. Most likely, we are going to see Robin join the crew at the end of Alabasta. But what I want is for Robin's decision to join the crew to be something we slowly feel building up. Honestly, even in the anime, that transition felt a little too fast for me. Yes, it was a very iconic moment, but the emotional foundation underneath it could have been developed more strongly. And the live-action series has a great chance to fix that. I want them to slowly show that Robin is starting to be affected by the crew, and especially by Luffy. Little moments could be really valuable here, like her seeing their loyalty to one another, watching the way Luffy approaches people, or being surprised by how the crew protects each other. Robin is already a character who is emotionally closed off. So seeing her gradually warm up to these people would be much stronger than if she just makes that decision all at once. I do not want Robin's decision to join the crew to remain just a surprise moment. There needs to be an emotional build-up underneath it. Robin should watch them, understand them, and maybe, for the first time, start getting close to a real sense of belonging. She should see something in Luffy's actions that she has been looking for all these years. Maybe she does not say it out loud. Maybe they tell it only through looks or short scenes, but they still need to make us feel that subtext. For a character like Robin, I think that would be the right approach. In the same way, I also do not want Robin to look fully adapted the moment she joins the crew. I do not want the same kind of rush transition I felt with Chopper to happen again with Robin, because Robin is already a more distant, more controlled, and more cautious character. That is why it would feel much more natural and much more effective if she opens up gradually, develops trust toward the crew, and starts giving them little smiles or slowly getting used to them. I do not even think they need to dedicate a whole long episode to this. Just a few strong scenes placed in the right moments would be enough. Seeing Robin build a connection with these people over time, instead of all at once, would also make us, as viewers, connect with her more. In fact, this could even become one of the strongest parts of the third season. Because Robin's story is already a story with emotional weight, and if they want us to feel that weight, they cannot rush it. When it comes to the Alabasta side of things, I have a few small concerns there too. Because Alabasta is not an arc built only around the main characters. One of the things that makes this arc special is how colorful, fun, and memorable the supporting characters around it are. That is why I do not want the show to simplify things too much here. Yes, there will be time limitations, and yes, some things will inevitably be cut. But at the very least, I think they need to preserve the fun characters that carry the spirit of the arc, especially some of the Marines in Alabasta, some of the Baroque Works agents, and the supporting characters that give the arc its flavor absolutely need to stay. Because those characters are not there just to fill the screen. They make the world feel more alive. One of the things that makes the world of One Piece feel so big is that, beyond the main characters, there are interesting people living in every corner of it. That is why I do not want the series to trim these parts down too much. Even with short scenes, I think they need to keep these characters alive. As for Vivi, I will be honest, I have almost no worries at all when it comes to the third season. In fact, it is the opposite. I truly believe Vivi is going to be handled beautifully this season. Before the second season, I had a few question marks about Vivi's actress. I was wondering whether she would be able to deliver that emotion and whether she could really carry the character. But the second season completely erased all of those concerns for me. I really loved Vivi. That is why I believe that in the Alabasta season, Vivi is going to be portrayed as much more fragile, much more emotional, but at the same time much stronger. Because that is exactly what makes Vivi such a great character. She is a princess, but also someone carrying the burden of her people. She is someone who can cry, but also someone who can stand unbelievably strong when she needs to. If they build properly on the foundation they created in the second season, Vivi could become one of the best characters of the third season. When I look at it overall, my concerns about the third season are not really about the big things. They are more about those small details. At the core of it, I already believe we are going to get another very good season. In fact, it will probably be amazing. Maybe the reason I am paying so much attention to these little things is because my expectations have gotten so high. Maybe it sounds a little spoiled, but I really do trust this world and this adaptation much more now. All I want is for them not to skip over those small but very important emotional moments in the third season. I want us to see more of how the crew bonds with each other, how they get to know each other, and how they slowly turn into a family. Because that is exactly where the heart of One Piece beats. Action, war, and major villains are all important, of course. But the thing that has always kept us attached to the screen is the bond within this crew. If they deliver that properly again, then I think the third season could truly be unforgettable. That is how I feel for now. Like I said, my confidence is high, my expectations are high, and my excitement is very high too. I just want those small details to be handled a little more carefully this time. So what do you think about the third season? What do you want to see, and what do you not want to see? Be sure to write it in the comments, and let's talk about it in detail. And if you still have not subscribed to the channel, do not forget to subscribe and like the video.